The history of the Vikings is filled with daring voyages and impressive conquests, but there's a chapter that's often forgotten. The moment when they became the first Europeans to reach the Americas, almost 500 years before Christopher Columbus. This is the Vinland Saga, recorded in the Icelandic sagas, blending historical facts, oral traditions, and legendary elements. A tale of courage, cultural encounter, and dreams of colonization in distant lands. Vinland is the name the Vikings gave to the region that today corresponds to the northeast coast of North America, more specifically, areas that are now part of Canada. The term, which literally means land of vines or land of wine, marks one of the most remarkable discoveries made by Viking seafarers during the Middle Ages. Information about Vinland has come down to us through two medieval Icelandic sagas, the Saga of the Greenlanders and the Saga of Erik the Red. Written in the 13th century, long after the events, they preserved memories of Viking expeditions westward, recounting in detail the journeys of real figures who lived in the late 10th and early 11th centuries. It all begins with Erik the Red, the explorer who was banished from Iceland and went on to colonize Greenland around 985. His son, Leif Erikson, would inherit that adventurous spirit. But before Leif, another man had already sighted unknown lands, Bjarni Herjolfsson, who in 986, blown off course amid storms, saw forested lands to the west. He did not land, but his story would inspire others. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson decided to follow Bjarni's reports. Setting out from Greenland with about 35 men, the expedition crossed the North Atlantic sailing westward, and they encountered three great regions: Helluland, land of flat stones, probably Baffin Island; Markland, land of forests identified as today's Labrador Peninsula in Canada, rich in timber; and finally, Vinland, land of wine, which may have been Newfoundland, where the Vikings found wild berries similar to grapes. There, Leif and his men spent the winter in a fertile place with abundant resources, where they found plentiful salmon, rich pastures, and wild grapes. Enchanted with the place, they named it Vinland. Upon returning to Greenland, Leif's enthusiastic description inspired other Viking expeditions westward. After Leif, other Vikings sought to explore and colonize Vinland. His brother, Thorvald Eriksson, established camps, but soon met resistance from the local inhabitants, whom the Norse called Skrælings. These indigenous peoples, probably ancestors of the Beothuk, clashed with the intruders. Thorvald was struck by arrows and lost his life, becoming the first European to die in the Americas. Around the year 1009, the Icelandic explorer Thorfinn Karlsefni led the largest attempt at colonization in Vinland. He gathered about 160 people, men, women, and children, establishing a colony known as Straumfjord, probably in the area now known as Meadows, on the Canadian island of Newfoundland, where archaeologists have confirmed traces of a Viking settlement from that period. For a time, there was trade with the Skrælings, exchanging cloth and weapons for furs, but relations soon deteriorated. Rising hostility and continual attacks made it impossible to maintain the colony. After a few years, Karlsefni and his companions returned to Greenland. Among the most striking figures in the sagas is Freydis Eriksdottir, daughter of Erik the Red. On one expedition, when the Skrælings attacked, many warriors fell back. Freydis, even while pregnant, seized a sword and charged the enemy, who fled in terror. Her deed made her a symbol of courage, but in other versions of the saga she is portrayed darkly, ordering rival colonists executed. A complex character, she embodies both the bravery and the violence of the Viking world. The encounters between Vikings and indigenous peoples were the first known contacts between Europeans and the inhabitants of the Americas. The Skrælings are described as hunters, traveling in canoes, armed with bows and arrows. Despite moments of exchange, cultural shock and violence ultimately prevailed. This inability to coexist peacefully was decisive in the failure of the Norse colonies in Vinland. After some years of attempted colonization, the Vinland settlement was abandoned, likely due to growing hostilities with indigenous groups, logistical difficulties in resupply from distant Greenland, and harsh climatic conditions. For a long time, the sagas were considered mere legends, but in 1960, archaeologists discovered the site of Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada. There they found turf houses, tools, and typically Norse objects dated to around the year 1000. This discovery confirmed that the sagas had a historical basis. The Vikings did indeed reach and settle, if only temporarily, in North America. Today, Vinland is remembered as proof that myth and history can walk together, and that the sagas preserve true memories of extraordinary deeds. The mystery surrounding the exact extent of the Viking presence in the Americas and their interactions with indigenous peoples continues to fascinate archaeologists and historians, constantly revealing new perspectives on this extraordinary chapter of medieval history.